There is a war going on in Seattle, Washington. A war between drivers and bikers. And I just find this fascinating. I remember when we lived in Portland. Portland is one of the more bike-friendly cities in the nation. And there's a fair amount of tension there. Here in D.C., they're building bike lanes. There's a fair number of bike lanes. You don't see anywhere near as many people on bicycles, though. And when you do, you clearly get the sense that they are taking their lives in their hands, given the just general insanity of car traffic here. Just the nature of it. I mean, this is a city that was laid out for horses and buggies. It was laid out long before Henry Ford was even born. I mean, So, in any case, Paul Guppy is on the line with us. He's the vice president for research at the Washington Policy Center, the pro-car side of the Seattle war on cars. If I'm characterizing this well, Paul, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on, and greetings from Seattle.
Thank you. Would you disagree with my characterization up to this point?
Yes, I guess I would say it depends on what you mean by pro-car. I mean, we would agree with the more than 90% of citizens who travel every day by car. That's the statistic on daily trips. So the automobile is really essential to the life of our city and, in fact, every city in the modern world. So
right.
it has an important, I would say, central role. Bicycles are important as well, and I think they can peacefully coexist. The phrase war on cars, I think, refers not so much to tension between drivers and cyclists, by the way, who are often the same people, but in our city, the war on cars is by the mayor against drivers. So it's consistent public policy that works against the public interest.
So how is that playing out, in your opinion?
Pardon me?
How has the mayor declared war on drivers?
Basically by denying access to the public streets to automobiles, and what I'm referring to are arterials that are the lifeblood of our city. So we have wonderful parks. We have Alki Beach Drive and the Burke-Gilman Trail, which are great places to go biking. But what the mayor has done is started to take general travel lanes in major arterial roads that are necessary for getting around, and reserving a public right-of-way only for bicycles and buses while leaving general traffic with only one lane in each direction. So it's restricting the life of the city, the ability to move around our city.
So he's not actually taking those streets out of value for cars. He's just saying you have one lane or two lanes. You no longer have.
Well, he's reducing access to the public right-of-way by half.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
90% of the people who are trying to move around our city.
I'm not disagreeing with that. But 10% of the people who are moving around your city right now are doing it on bicycles, right?
No, I think that's only 1 or 2%. And
Okay.
I'm being generous regarding our bus system. So we have a really good mass transit system, which carries 6-8% of daily trips, which is at the high end nationally.
So would it not?
Most people still travel by automobile.
Would it not be accurate to say that the mayor is doing this because if you bicycle, I'm thinking of Denmark. Louise and I did this show for a week from Stockholm, and there are lots and lots of streets, and Stockholm is a major metropolitan city, and it's got its own traffic problems. Many of which come from, like I said, here in D.C., the fact that the city was laid out before there were cars. And there are streets that are almost entirely bicycles. And during rush hour, there's probably a 3-to-1 ratio of bicycles to cars on major streets in Stockholm. I mean, it was just amazing. And we were there in the winter, or in the fall, in September, October. And still, I mean, it rained almost every day we were there, and very cold rain, and still you'd see hundreds and hundreds of bicycles taking half of the road and dozens of cars. That has worked, and this is the result of the city of Stockholm. Stockholm is Sweden. It's not Stockholm. It's what's the capital of Denmark? Copenhagen. Thank you very much. This is the result of Copenhagen setting out an intentional policy of saying we're going to encourage bikes and discourage cars. And the consequences of this have not only been the pollution has dropped, but also the general health of the people has. We had one of the politicians who put this thing together on the program, and he said, heart attack rates have dropped.
Sure. So if I could. Great point. So One thing I would point out is that one system or culture that might work for an older European city might not work for a newer Western city like ours. So Seattle, it's a beautiful area. Spring is starting today. It is gorgeous out here today. And Seattle historically is a garden city. So it is laid out in a way that's a much more open pattern of family development. That is single-family homes in great neighborhoods, each of which has its own business district. A city like Copenhagen is much more densely packed with townhouses and flatter, and getting around on bicycle perhaps makes sense for those folks. What I'm saying is that what our mayor is doing is, on the one hand, increasing taxes, which I haven't even gotten to, raising taxes on drivers, and then using that money to take public access away from the traveling public for the kind of city that we have. So he is gradually squeezing Seattle from being a garden city to a much denser city where it's harder to get around, and is creating a harsher urban environment, at least for the laid-back style that Seattle has had traditionally, is now becoming a much more crowded and denser place because of constricting the public roadways.
As there's more and more concern about the automobile as being wasteful of energy, basically. I mean, you're moving 6,000 pounds of steel around just so that you can move your body around. Is there not a strong case to be made for moving as many people as possible to bicycles and mass transportation?
Yes, if that's people's choice. So for those who want to get around by bicycle, that's a good thing. The phrase war on cars comes from the fact that what the mayor is doing, with the support of the Cascade Bicycle Club, which is one of his major political supporters, is forcing people into a lifestyle that they haven't chosen. So he is using public resources in which to force his values on the people of the city.
Well, if people of the city don't like it, they'll vote the bomb out, right?
We may be doing that this year. So it's an election year. McGinn is not popular. He's running for re-election, and just like in the first time he ran, the Cascade Bicycle Club is going to be a key part of his coalition and for raising money and gaining support.
And I'm guessing you're going to be
in our city.
WashingtonPolicy.org is probably going to be part of his opposition.
Well, we're not a political organization. We're a research organization.
I see.
So we'll watch the race with interest from the sidelines, but we see the way his policies are changing the character of our city. So we're becoming less green, less open, less of a garden city, and more of a dense, European-style, crowded urban city.
Has anybody ever asked you if you feel like a buggy whip manufacturer in 1915?
Not at all, because the buggy whip manufacturers went out of business because people voluntarily stopped buying their product. It didn't make sense anymore.
Right.
But as I mentioned, more than 90% of the people in the city choose to travel around by cars. Riding bikes are great.
In the 19-teens, we also started
for many people.
But in the 19-teens, I mean, there were major battles. I mean, there were shooting wars in the 19-aughts and 19-teens about paving roads, because once you pave a road, you basically couldn't ride horses on it anymore. It would damage their hooves and or burn through their shoes more rapidly, and it was hard on the horses. But on the other hand, the cars needed paved roads. And I mean, this is a major war that happened. You go back and read the history of the first part of the 20th century and the last part of the 19th.
But what you're referring to is a natural cultural change based on choices that people were making.
But it was being made by government. I mean, the government was deciding which roads to pave for cars and which roads to leave dirt for horses.
What you're referring to are were changes made in society, often difficult because of choices people were making.
Yeah.
So people are not making a choice.
So you're not seeing an increasing proportion of people riding bicycles in Seattle.
Get around by car, and that's what we need.
Okay. So you're not seeing an increasing proportion of people riding bikes.
A tiny might increase from 2% to 4%.
I see.
Most people need to travel by car.
Okay. Paul Guppy, WashingtonPolicy.org. Thanks, Paul. Good talking with you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Fascinating conversation. We're going to hear from the bike side of this right after the break.